we take that breath, or maybe we even take several breaths, allowing each and every breath in this time, from this breath forward, to allow us to relax that much more. Each breath, the breath of God itself, bringing peace, bringing calm and strength, bringing love and light to those places of darkness that we feel are happening in our world, and in those places of darkness that we might feel are happening within. That light of God that shines out from within each one of us in a smile, in a glance, in a connection from one being to the next. That love of God that radiates forward from each one of us as we move through our days, bringing love to the world. We are the hands and feet. We are the heart and the activity of God itself. We remember that every chance we get moving through our days, every opportunity we have after this meditation to be the power and presence and love of God, we take it. We grab onto it and we move it forward into activity in our world. That divine activity that we need so much to remember is happening in all things. In the darkness and in the light. We embrace it all. And then we take the opportunity, as we are in a group meditation this morning, to expand our energy, to lean into that when two or more are gathered. We gather open-hearted, sharing the Spirit, the presence, the power of God. And we do that now. We just feel inside where that connection with Spirit is, where we feel it begin within. And then going to that place inside, we just open the door and allow it to expand. We allow the activity and presence of God to move on purpose inside our body, filling us with the awareness of God, filling us with the love and light and power of God. And then we align so much with that presence that it's as if the divisions between us disappear. And that love, that activity, that power and presence of God moves outward from us, out through skin and bones, into the room around us, filling this space. We can feel the tangible presence of God here. All of our people who are with us virtually, we allow that expansion from this room to that, connecting us across miles, time and distance, space. It all disappears in the power and presence of God. We allow that to increase beyond anyone who might even be seeing this service later in this week. Through time, past, present, future, they meld together in the love of God, in the power of God expressing. We feel that strength. We feel that comfort. We feel that love and joy and peace, and we just radiate it out and wrap our world in it. Send it all the way around, touching people's hearts, no matter their language, no matter their location, no matter where or when they are. We wrap them in a blanket of loving, divine energy. To all creatures on this earth, to all living things, to all the creations of those living things, we send and embrace them in that presence of God. We allow it to expand outward for just a moment from our individual self into all there is in God, in the silence. And then with another breath, we allow it to land wherever it reached. That presence of God, ever present, magnified by our awareness. For that awareness and that presence, we say, thank you, God, bringing ourselves back to this time, this space, this opportunity for transformation. We open in sacred safety, and we say, thank you, God, and so it is. Amen. Do we believe that we never walk alone? Because if we believe that we never walk alone, the way that life shows up for us is going to be very, very different. There are a lot of things that we believe, some of them that we believe consciously, and others that are driving in the dark that we don't even realize are driving. So every day is a new opportunity to get in touch with what we're believing, why we're believing it, why we continue that belief forward. Is it on purpose or is it on autopilot? Tomorrow, depending on where you embrace, we will be celebrating Columbus Day and or Indigenous Peoples Day. And I started thinking about that and how our notions of what is and what has to be and what can be are always shifting, or should always shift, right? Now we have an opportunity for that. They don't have to. It's not something we have to do, but we have an opportunity to allow things to shift. So I looked up, because we all know, okay, Columbus Day is called Columbus Day because of Christopher Columbus, who sailed the ocean blue in 1492, discovered the Americas. I always think, I heard a few laughs there. I always think that's right. Discovered it like it had never existed before. Like there weren't tons and tons of people already living there. Who knew where it was? Which is where we've moved into this back and forth between Indigenous Peoples Day and Columbus Day. But I looked it up. If you've never looked up the history of Columbus Day, I invite you to do it. It's kind of creepy and dark. I was so surprised. Now, so that I don't butcher this, I am going to use notes for just a minute. I know, gasp, right? It happens every once in a while. And because of this finger, I couldn't put contacts in this morning, so. So the first Columbus Day celebration took place on October 12th, 1792, when the Columbian Order of New York, better known as the Tammany Society, held an event to commemorate the 300th anniversary of the historic landing. And I thought, okay, so 300 years later, somebody went, hey, remember Columbus? 300 years later. For the 400th anniversary, this is where it takes a really dark turn. No, it took a dark turn shortly after Columbus landed. We all know that, right? I hope we all know that. And that's why we're leaning back into this Indigenous Peoples Day. That's part of the reason that people say they want to shift the energy. They want to put a notion in motion that just because we've done something for certain reasons doesn't mean we always have to keep doing it, right? But in the 400th anniversary of Christopher Columbus's voyage in 1892, following the lynchings of 11 Italian immigrants by a mob in New Orleans. Right? Wow. Lynchings. President Benjamin Harrison declared Columbus Day as a one-time national celebration. It was part of a wider effort after the lynching incident to placate Italian Americans and to ease diplomatic tensions with Italy. Now think about that. So we're celebrating this today, 2025, in its new and weirdly expanding form and shifting consciousness. We're still discussing this landing, and we're still discussing it, brought to bear because Italian people were hurt and someone took action to help to ease tensions and join across a terrible thing that happened. So really, the Columbus Day that we celebrate kind of has little to do with Christopher Columbus. It has to do with an energy of helping people get over a tragedy. So if I embraced Columbus Day in that way, that would change for me what it was. Now the fact, I'm going to, let's see how deep I dig it in today. The fact of what took place to the indigenous people after people came, after Christopher Columbus discovered the Americas, that was a huge horror. So I don't know where you stand politically, where you stand on the back and forth of, is it Indigenous Peoples Day? Is it Columbus Day? What is it that we are celebrating? I can tell you that the reason we're celebrating it has very little to do with the originating event. So the reason that we still are moving through with Columbus Day, and if you research it and follow, you will find that again, presidents were asked to make it a national holiday to embrace Italian Americans. So isn't that interesting? I found it fascinating. I had no idea there was any of that in there until I went looking it up. It really shifted things for me. Because I will be honest, in the last few years, when the rise of this Let's Make It Indigenous Peoples Day came, I have really thought, boy, I can stand behind that. Because horrors were visited upon people after this discovery of the Americas. Horrors. People's entire lives were wiped out, and histories, and all of that. And this shifted it a little bit for me. I'm going to leave my personal opinion about what I feel about Columbus/Indigenous Peoples Day and tell you that I am a unity person, and so I am embracing unifying all things between those two and beyond those two, and I am bringing forward a new and expanded vision of why we're even doing this. Why we even do this. And I find it fascinating. I got a summons for jury duty for tomorrow. And And when I got the summons, I thought, hold on a second. That's Columbus or Indigenous Peoples Day. Isn't that a national holiday? Aren't we supposed to be closed in the courthouse? So I called the courthouse and said, this summons is for a national holiday. And they said, no, we'll be open. So banks are closed, like some things are closed, some things are open. Boy, if that's not a notion in motion, what are we going to do with this day? Well, you're either going to have a day off, woohoo, or you're going to be working, woohoo. So it's fascinating how and why we hold the things we hold. Now, I told you this month we're focusing on fear. I really have to watch where I aim my intent because Friday afternoon, we got a last-minute writing assignment to write Thanksgiving prayers that will be posted on Unity Worldwide's website for Thanksgiving. And we had done it a couple of years ago. We haven't done it in a few years, and so they were reinstituting that. So I was sitting, typing in my office, writing, and all of a sudden I see my cat go. And I thought, oh, we found something. And it's usually a bird outside the back window. So I didn't think much of it until she dove underneath my aquarium area across the office from me. And as I looked, I saw this little black tail, and I thought, oh, there's got to be a skink in the house or a lizard or something, and I'll get it, no worries. So I got up from my desk, and I walk over to the side to see, I still haven't taken my beloved dog passed a couple weeks ago, and I still haven't moved her beds. And so the dog bed was there, and I saw the tail go under the dog bed, and I thought, well, let's see what kind of skink this is, and lifted the side of the dog bed, and there was about a 4.5-foot long indigo snake in my house. And the cat went, look, it's bigger. Let me get it. And started to dive for the indigo snake. And so I thought, whole different situation. Thank you, God, for this opportunity, right? So I'm freaking out a little bit because I'm thinking the cat's going to get bit by the snake, and so I go for the cat. Well, you've probably seen at some point, those funny cat videos where someone tosses a cucumber in front of a cat, and the cat jumps up, 6 feet and loses its mind and knocks half of the house over and all that kind of stuff. Well, because cats have very controlled reactions to fear, right? And so me in all my wisdom, in my sheer panic, let's just say what it was, because I'm like, what do I do first? Do I go after the snake first? Do I try to get the cat away from the snake? What do I do? So I thought, I got to get the cat out of there because the snake's going to bite the cat. And so I went to help my cat and move her. And so as soon as I touched the outer fur of my cat, she lost her ever-loving mind and jumped into my face from the bottom, and I sort of had her and sort of didn't, and then there ensued this, I wish I had it on film, because I don't know how I got gouged and scraped on the outsides of my arms, but somehow I have gouge wounds there. I picked her up, she was fighting and screaming and all of this kind of stuff, and latched onto my finger with her teeth, which was really fun, I can tell you. And so now I've got blood squirting everywhere, and the cat running everywhere, and the snake, thankfully, hiding under the cat bed, or for the dog bed. So I had a moment of reprieve there. So I grabbed a hold of my finger with blood going everywhere and thought, I think I need to do this first, and went ahead and dealt with that. But so I have, yes, I'm going to the doctor tomorrow morning because some doctors will be open on Indigenous Peoples Columbus Day. And and it's still roasting hot and bright red and swollen and incredibly painful. So I think I'll get some antibiotics tomorrow, right? But so a few of you have said that to me. I did have a nurse look at it at my granddaughter's color guard competition, which I was at yesterday, and she said, you're probably just going to have to deal with it, and I probably would, except my entire finger is really hot to the touch, and that tells me that it's probably not a good idea to just brave this one through, right? Because there's fears that are making sense, and there's fears that we need to pay attention to, and there's fears that are off the wall, like a cat jumping in my face when I try to save her from the snake. So it was a fascinating dance with, Eastern indigo snakes are protected, by the way. You cannot hurt them or even touch them. So knowing this, I kept trying to get the snake, and it was doing rattlesnake things with its tail, and it was a fascinating, fun adventure for my Friday afternoon. So it's been interesting. Yesterday, as a matter of fact, I was so concerned driving over to West Palm Beach. I attended the funeral of my ex-mother-in-law, a Catholic Mass, which was absolutely beautiful at the Cathedral of St. Ignatius Loyola in Palm Beach Gardens. If you've never been there, it's gorgeous. And attended her Mass, where this is a new one for me. I need to take lessons from this priest, where in a funeral Mass, he managed to fit in a message about the extinction of the dinosaurs into a funeral Mass while working to comfort the family. I mean, I thought I was good, but I don't think I'm dinosaurs in a funeral Mass good. He was good, and I told him so. I said, I am impressed, sir. I have never seen anybody do that. So that was quite an adventure yesterday. And then from one extreme to the other, went to my granddaughter's color guard competition, where I watched her just shine. And so our world is like this, right? It's this whole swirl of pain and calm and love and joy and anger and fear and, all of these things. And we're running around the whole time trying to figure out what to take from each one of them and where to compartmentalize each one of them and what we need to address and what we can let go of. That's all of it. And it's all these notions in motion. What do we believe about what we're believing, and why? That's our homework assignment for this week, by the way. If you're thinking about it during the week, if you run up against anything during this week that you can feel yourself do it, shift into that, I really believe this, and I must be right thing. Give yourself the opportunity to go, wow, what's my charge around that? Why do I feel so strong about that? Where did that belief come from? It is an opportunity for us to grow if we can shift our relationship to becoming curious about why we show up the way we show up in the world. I had a counseling session with a congregant this week, and I said, it took me a long time, and it's still a work in progress, and it will always be a work in progress, to meet these things that make us want to shrink away with genuine curiosity. Wow, why am I afraid of that? Wow, why do I believe that? Why does this or that cause me to do this or that thing? If we can meet it with curiosity, we can shift what happens inside of us when the discomfort happens. We don't like discomfort. I really don't like this discomfort. I think I slept 3 hours last night because it was going whom, whom, whum, whum, even with ibuprofen. And so we don't like discomfort. There's reasons for that. This is my finger going, hey, lady, do something about this. This is not okay. Not supposed to be happening here. But we do the same thing sometimes with emotional discomfort. When we get into a situation with someone or something that just makes us feel a little icky, and we can do that aversion from that emotional discomfort. If we can shift our relationship to that, if we can meet it with genuine curiosity, it doesn't mean we like it. It doesn't mean, oh my gosh, this is great. I just have to file bankruptcy. Wonderful. No. It's not that. It's not acting like something that is very uncomfortable isn't. It's saying, isn't it an opportunity for me to reach this place in my finances or in my administrative life? What has brought me here? What belief systems might I be able to shift so that I don't end up in this space again, so that I learn the lesson and gain the blessing from me being here right now, and I don't have to go through this again. Just because something has always been doesn't mean it always has to be. And some of these shifts can make sense to us and some don't. I went into Home Depot this past week to return something. And as I was standing there, I noticed on their counter they had this little sign that said, very soon we will not be using pennies. And I thought, huh? Because I haven't heard anything of this. Now, some of you may already know this and be going, well, of course, Trish, it's been going on for a while now. I don't know this. So I found out, standing in line at Home Depot on a Sunday, or on the other day, that some places have already discontinued ordering more pennies, because what's happening now is, as of 2026, they're not manufacturing them anymore, because it costs almost 4 cents a piece to make a penny. I mean, I'm sure there's other reasons too, but that's the base reason. It costs a lot of money to create pennies, and then they transfer as only a penny in value. Now, my first thought, standing there talking to the clerk at Home Depot, because I said, surely we're not doing away with the numbers 1 through 4. So how do we suddenly not need 1 through 4? How are we going to be sure that everything ends in a 5 or a 0? Because now 5 will be the smallest denomination. And so literally 1 and 2 will be rounded down to 0, and 3 and 4 will be rounded up to 5. And that's the way prices are going to happen. So we are going to be watching in this next couple years our entire structure around how we use money. And you know they're pushing for a cashless society. They're trying to move things as they go. Now my thought was, couldn't we just make it out of something cheaper? You know, couldn't we just use a different kind of metal? I mean, and if this is a political thing, excuse me, if I'm stepping on somebody's political, I have no idea if this is political. I just think it's fascinating that we suddenly are not going to need the numbers 1 through 4 in change. Because I think we are. I'm thinking this is going to be kind of a paradigm shifting, maybe painful transition. And then people, that like the lady told me when I was leaving, and she gave me a few pennies with my change, and she said, hold on to those pennies. And I thought, oh great, now we're going to be hoarding pennies, because now the perceived value of a penny is going to go up because they're not making them anymore. Aren't we weird? We are weird. Yeah. I'm like, really? And here's another opportunity for us. Again and again, this world is offering us opportunities. Do you want to shift with grace and ease? Or do you want to show how resistant you are and how many obstacles that sets up in your life? For some things, it's worth it to say, nope, not doing this. This is not a shift I'm making. This is a belief that I am embracing and I'm holding fast on because I've examined where my belief comes from. I've examined the history of it. I know why I feel it, and I'm really clear and landed in that this is my belief. Or, yeah, I could change. I could shift. See, it's not about who's the smartest person in the room. It's about who's the most flexible and able to change. Over and over and over again in history. And it's about the energy which we lend to things and how they get to grow. I saw this from Paula Poundstone, comedian Paula Poundstone. She said, adults are always asking kids what they want to be when they grow up because they're looking for ideas. Just because we're in these skins that are, as old as they are, we can tend to think that things are supposed to be a certain way, and no. In Isaiah 43:19, that verse, I am about to do a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? I will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. See, that's the thing. We can look at things that are shifting and changing in life, and we can meet them with fear. We can be the cat that jumps 12 feet in the air because we're so reflexive in our reptilian brain that if someone touches us when we're trying to figure out what something is, we lose our ever-loving minds. Or we can calculate and figure out what to do. The thing happens, the blood spills forth, and we take a moment to center and figure out how best to move forward, to stop the bleeding, to stop the fear, to move into something new and different, and get the snake out of our house, so to speak. We get these opportunities over and over and over again. Ralph Waldo Emerson says, cultivate the habit of being grateful for every good thing that comes to you. I'm holding my glasses and reading blur. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, right? How's that work? Yeah. I'm going, wow, this is really... Oh, there's a spiritual lesson in there. Cultivate the habit of being grateful for every good thing that comes to you and to give thanks continuously. Now, here's the bigger part. We go, oh, yeah, of course, I can do that. The second sentence says, and because all things have contributed to your advancement, all things, you should include all things in your gratitude. Ugh. That's the sticky part, right? Now, it can be much easier to do when we're standing and looking back at something. The challenge becomes when we're in the middle of that something that feels prickly or uncomfortable or frightening, to look at why we're holding what we're holding, look at what we're holding, and then step forward into a new paradigm. Step forward into a new way of showing up in something. Dave and I were teasing in the office this morning. He said, I think I liked it better when you talked about your boyfriend than when you talk about some of this other stuff. 'Cause I haven't done that in a while, have I? He's fine. That's been a paradigm shift for me. I've never been in a relationship that includes distance and time away, enforced time away. And my mom teases me because we talk on the phone anywhere from 2 to 5 times a day. I know it's a little ridiculous. And it is something to step into what I think relationship should be. My dad always used to say, don't should on me. Because we're invited in every moment to update what we think should be happening. So we know that we learn these fears in generations and across generations. We know that we can let go of them if we choose. We know that it is our perception that creates our reality. Trying to cultivate and grow a relationship that for now needs to be text and phone calls mostly because I'm quite a distance away from John. We pay very close attention to those things. They hold a lot of value. It's an invitation to other people, too, to go, wow, how do I cultivate my close-in relationship? And how does that happen? How do I allow someone to know how much I care? And how do I make room for things to shift and change? What am I believing about what I'm believing? And why am I believing what I'm believing? Buckminster Fuller said, there is nothing in a caterpillar that tells you it's going to be a butterfly. There was nothing in me, even weeks before the possibility of stepping up into a new and different kind of relationship, that told me I was going to be okay with that or that was going to happen. There's nothing in any of us today that is telling us a new and different paradigm is something that we are ready to comfortably jump into until when a caterpillar becomes a butterfly, it goes into this chrysalis state. Now, caterpillars are the basis for both moths and butterflies. When a caterpillar is going to become a moth, when the time comes, something signals it inside and it builds a cocoon around itself. It will use various things. Some of them have silk that they use. Some of them incorporate leaves and branches. There are some magnificent cocoons out there. Some of them are amazing feats of construction. For a butterfly, it's a little bit different. They simply find a safe space and shed their skin. And underneath their skin is the chrysalis. They don't build it. They don't have to do anything to make it. Something inside their body switches on and says, it's time, shed your skin. Underneath is the chrysalis. That chrysalis hardens. The entire caterpillar dissolves into a gooey, slimy mess that resembles nothing it's been before, and then the butterfly forms. In the caterpillar that forms into a moth, that happens inside the chrysalis. So you get to decide, are you going to build something around yourself, maybe a structure around yourself, maybe a sanctuary in the way of home, maybe some kind of belief system that helps you to move through things and make friends with fears? Or can you just decide one day to shed the old skin, to melt the old beliefs, and to emerge as a beautiful butterfly? The decision is ours. The things we do in our lives to empower ourselves to move into new and different belief systems, to do away with 1 through 4 if we need to, or to decide we don't want to and figure out how to shift around that without eliminating something in our lives. It's a big bunch of stuff I handed you this week. It's a big bunch of stuff at work in me this week. I hope it's at work in you this week. Let's attend to what we need to attend to. Let's not feel like we need to bully through something just because we have to show how tough and rough and ready we are. Let's ask for help when we know there's a possibility we need it. Let's create a structure around and within ourselves that allows us to move through change and fear with grace and ease. Let's become so real that we get to make those shifts in ways that we get to be curious about instead of in resistance about. And let's grow in it. And so it is.
Thank you for joining us today. Please visit www.unityofsebring.org for more information, to submit a prayer request, or to donate to our ministry. We hope to see you again very soon.